So there's three things I wanted to cover with you today. The first of all is WebObjects and Apple, where WebObjects fits into the Apple family. Secondly, where WebObjects is today, or perhaps I should say yesterday, and where we're going today and tomorrow moving forward. So as Steve mentioned at Macworld in New York, Apple has always been known for making the world's best personal computers, for having a really great killer desktop platform. But in today's age of the internet, we really want to be thinking outside of the box. And so while a lot of what we do, particularly with Mac OS X, is focused around the desktop, there's a lot of things we do that are focused on the internet platform. Things like the QuickTime, like streaming, like HTML web design, and so forth. Mac OS X server and other products in that family. And what we've done is really taken WebObjects and made it our internet engine. We think WebObjects is the best tool for developing and deploying applications on the internet. It's a powerful engine to interactively deliver internet content, whether it's HTML, PDF, movies, Java, anything you vend over the internet can be supercharged by having WebObjects underneath it. Another way of looking at that, it's a smart way to bring your applications to the internet. How many of you have done any sort of client-server development? Okay, for a handful of you. A lot of you probably have, how many of you currently have applications that never talk to anything else? Everybody has to talk to something, whether it's a local data store, whether it's other applications, whether it's web servers, whether it's to get updates, whether it's to get new content, whether it's to send customer registration information back and forth. WebObjects is now an incredibly powerful way to build this relationship with your customer, to your application, to you, over the internet. And this is also what Apple has done with WebObjects ourselves. It is our internet engine. It is the system that powers our internet strategy, whether it's the Apple Store, Apple.com, iTools, iCards, the Developer Connection website. All these things are powered using WebObjects. And we've known it's a great tool. The top 3,000 customers in the largest websites in the world know that this is a great and powerful and awesome tool. But we want to make sure that you all can take advantage of it as well. For those of you who aren't very familiar with WebObjects and the technology, let me just give you a real quick summary of how it works. A traditional web server just takes static HTML pages and vends them to a client. But often you have other data sources you want to use to bring to your customers rather than having to hardwire everything into HTML. Mainframes, databases, ERP systems, directory services, etc. What WebObjects does is take all the information, feeds it into an application server that manages and massages the object and uses that to dynamically generate HTML pages or equivalently Java, which can then be vended to any client. And because it's a fully scalable, what's called a 3-tier system, you can easily add new application servers into the mix and dynamically create a very highly scalable, robust, fault-tolerant web application service. WebObjects has been the industry-leading application server. It allows scalable deployment on a number of platforms, has a very powerful, rich set of graphical development tools, which not only allow code-free development like you saw this morning, but also very powerful in-depth customization because of a very rich public API building on top of extremely powerful, well-tested objects. And these allow you to connect it to basically any kind of structured data, whether it's a database, directory service, materials management system, etc. And the benefits of this are threefold. First of all, you get incredible productivity with WebObjects, up to 10 times faster than traditional and alternative development tools. We have a fully integrated suite of development tools that we're planning on supercharging even more going forward. We've really learned a lot of lessons in the last, this code base is built on the old NextStep, OpenStep, DBKit technology. It's been around since the early 90s, longer than any other tool in this class. And our team has really learned a lot of lessons as we've done various generations of this project to make sure we have a very powerful object-oriented architecture, something that's very difficult to build properly, but we've got more experience than probably anybody else in the world. Secondly, it has very powerful integration services. You can store your data pretty much anywhere and access it in a single application on a single client, talking to a multitude of different data services of all sorts of different types. And it's a very high-performance solution used to run things like the Apple Store, multi-threaded, multiple instances on a single system. Also can be transferred from a Mac OS X server system all the way up to high-end multi-CPU Solaris and HP boxes. So just to give you a quick summary of where we are with the currently shipping versions of WebObjects, we really feel like we've had the best technology, the coolest solutions, and a totally awesome business. The technology that we released this March was WebObjects 4.5, which we believe is smarter, easier, and even more interoperable than previous generations of WebObjects. The system's a lot smarter in its ability to analyze and report performance issues, to manage reconnects and failures to your database. It's easier than ever to develop solutions using the new Direct-to-Java client, as well as a redesigned WebObjects builder for creating dynamic HTML components, and even more interoperable by including great support for parsing and integrating XML data, as well as connecting with directory services such as LDAP. WebObjects has continued a huge streak of winning awards, most recently a CODI from the Software and Information Industry Association for Best Application Development Tool, Best Application Server from Java's Developer Journal. This is the 1999 Java Developers Journal. Our developers haven't been quite as aggressive this year with the voting. Feel free to join in if you agree with me that this is a very cool tool that deserves to be recognized. And then we also won the Software Product of the Year from Network Computing for being very well connected and also being a great application server. So we've got a huge list of awards. They're all on the website. It gets almost tedious to recite them all. But a lot of people have learned that this is a great tool. And one of the reasons it's so great is because we really believe in industry standards. We deploy on a host of different systems. We support a multitude of different languages. We integrate with a whole slew of different development technologies, whether it's scripting languages or C++ or data formats such as XML. And we have data adapters to most SQL databases, LDAP, Corba, DCOM, with a variety of third parties to provide a wealth of connectivity solutions. And the customers today read like a top 100 list of the web. You've heard all the names: BBC, Consumers Digest, Disney, AAA, Logistics, US Web, Adobe, the US Postal Service. These are all just very highly demanding companies that really need a very powerful solution with very rapid time to market, and they found WebObjects the perfect solution for their needs. In order to reach, and we have a couple of quotes here from people who've really leveraged the dynamic HTML creation process, integration with Corba and Java compatible architectures, and the list goes on and on and on. We have a number of incredibly talented partners that really make the WebObjects technology come alive and map to your business solutions, whether that's for HTML design tools, databases, reporting tools, integration with PDF and other technologies. We have hundreds of developers who've been working very closely with us for years to really build robust, flexible solutions customized to different vertical markets. And this has really paid off. We have we've been first to market in the web application server space. We essentially created it several years ago with the first version of WebObjects. The last time they've run the numbers, we were the #1 in market share. We have a phenomenal gross margin and double-digit growth. And we've just been really pleased with the business, and it really due to an awesome team. WebObjects has had a dedicated sales force focused exclusively around these types of high-end enterprise-class solutions. We have a whole army of trained consultants who are incredibly knowledgeable and passionate about these solutions, a very sophisticated training program, which you'll see on your demo CD, some of the fruits of that, as well as a worldwide network of resellers, and a very talented and focused engineering group that, as we say, has been doing object-oriented development for hundreds of man-years. But to just give you a taste of where we are just today with WebObjects, I've asked Andreas Venkar from the rapid deployment team of WebObjects to give a walk through the demo that you saw this morning. Was everyone here at the keynote today? Yeah? You like it? Okay, I'll try and go through it a little bit more slowly so you can get a better idea of what it was that we did during the keynote. Why don't you start with the direct-to-HTML connection there. This is a traditional WebObjects application that a WebObjects 3.5 or WebObjects 4.0 developer would be comfortable with. In WebObjects 4.0, we introduced a new technology called Direct-to-Web, which basically allows you to very quickly step through a database and just say, these are the various fields I care about. Give me a user interface that's built on that. And you get a very nice, simple, clean, elegant-looking HTML-based user interface with the different pop-up buttons and search fields. You can search on a field, do a query, pull back a detail, etc. And it's very nice and simple and very quick and easy to get up and running, but it's a very limited interface, right? It looks like you're running on something that's a notch or two above a TN3270 terminal, but doesn't really have the look and feel of a modern, rich operating system. It doesn't really leverage all the power you have sitting with a G3 or G4 processor on your desktop. So we looked at this and we said, well, you know, this is kind of nice, but this is WWDC. This is Steve Jobs we're talking about. We can't have him showing this. You know, we need something really sexier. So they said, well, okay, give me a few minutes. Let me see what I can throw together. And so, okay, Andreas, you have a few minutes. Let's see what you can throw together. So this is the new project builder that's available as part of DP4. We've custom hacked it to support web objects. The version you have on DP4 today does not yet support web objects. It will very soon. But we just pick an assistant there. In this case, the Direct-to-Java client, which is a new technology introduced in WebObjects 4.5 in March. We just give it a name, select a database model, and this is really the hardest job if you're managing a database application, is understanding your model. What are your relationships? What are the important schema? But once you create that model, using the knowledge of the database, WebObjects makes it really easy to take that information and turn it into a dynamic application. It uses very sophisticated heuristics to determine what are the primary tables in that database, which need to be rendered differently. And you just go ahead and build this. And basically, it creates a very simple shell server application, which can then talk to a very simple shell client application. So you saw the code. There's basically like 3 or 4 lines of code, and mostly they just say, hi, I'm running now. All the work is taken care of by the frameworks that are already built into WebObjects. So you can start here and just build this application very quickly. And then you launch a generic Java client. This is something they can download from the web, or you can have one client pre-installed on a machine. All you basically have to do is add a URL telling which server it talks to. It connects to the server. The server knows, okay, this client I can tell this information to. It generates the XML describing the data. That client dynamically renders that into a user interface, adjusts the sizes and widths of things so they fit reasonably on a page. And as you see, they're all alphabetized. This isn't a hand-tuned thing. This is just how it comes out straight from the Direct-to-Java client. Very powerful technology, leveraging the power of Java and Aqua on Mac OS X. And you can do a search. You can bring up a detail view. And we also did a little bit of work to integrate a QuickTime movie view into the Direct-to-Java application. It's something that you could do using the QuickTime for Java clients available. And
there are things I cannot do.
So you see here Queen Amidala meditating in deep thought about the destruction of her world. And that's the web, and there it is in 5 minutes, a complete direct-to-web Java application. Thank you, Andreas. And like they say, you don't have to take my word for it. You can go home with the WebObjects 4.5 technology that we've given to you in the developer's backpack, run on Mac OS X server or Windows NT, and be able to immediately get up and running with WebObjects and build an application just like that yourself. I don't think that the Java in Mac OS X is quite up to snuff with what we have here, but you probably even get a basic Java application running today on top of Mac OS X DP4 and get a little feel for what that looks like. So this is really, really cool, awesome, and powerful technology, but we wanted to go so much further than we have in the past. And so we really sort of set ourselves 3 goals. And the biggest area is really trying to make this a lower barrier to entry. A lot of people who really love WebObjects see it incredibly cool, but you work in the $1,000 application space, or you do sort of a one-person small consulting shop for small businesses that can't afford a $50,000 server. How can you take advantage of this power to deliver really cool applications or websites for your customers? So we're focusing on making the technology more accessible, expanding the array of solutions available, and creating a whole new business model for driving this really into the mainstream. So to start talking about the new technology, I've asked Tony Trujillo-Villan, the Director of WebObjects Engineering, to share a few words about the upcoming version of WebObjects. Want me to run this, or forward button?
Thanks, Ernie. So as you heard earlier in the keynote, Steve mentioned we have a new release coming out later this year, and we are calling it WebObjects 5 for Java for a good reason.
The forward and reverse buttons.
We're going to be translating our frameworks into 100% pure Java. We believe this will help you guys and make the product more usable by Java developers at a first glance. You can deploy it anywhere. And I'd like to announce that we're now going to be qualifying the product on Linux. We're also going to be including a JDBC for universal database connectivity and some interoperability standards for the internet. Sorry. We'll be talking more about enterprise Java beans and XML later on in the week, so please make sure you join us at those sessions. So as you heard and as you saw earlier today that we're going to be optimizing for macOS 10, Ernie mentioned that the CD that you have in your backpacks doesn't work on 10, but the product that we're working on now, when released, it will work on 10. And you'll see the Aqua user interface in that release. We'll also be using the new project builder that you saw in the demo. And we have a couple more exciting opportunities in the future. We'll be working with AppleScript and Network Info Directory Services. So with that, I'd like to invite Francois Jo up to give a demo.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. My name is Francois Jouot, and I'm going to present you this WebObjects for Java version that we call WebObjects 5.0. Okay, so well, guess what OS we have running here? Any guess? No, not NT. We have a Linux box here. We have a macOS 10 server box here, which is actually being displayed. And we are going to take one example out of the box from WebObjects 5.0 and run it on both machines. So Ron, here my charming assistant Ron, upload. We'll try the create plot example. So, as you see, we can run WebObjects Java out of Project Builder. So WebObjects Java is compatible with WebObjects 4.5. It lives side by side with it, and the same Project Builder is used. So Ron will compile the application, which is a 4.5 example that we have translated to Java. And now the application is running now on macOS 10 server, and I'm going to access it through the browser, which is here. Okay. So this is actually an interesting example because it has a small graphic engine underneath that enables it to draw some graphs. For example, here we have a pie chart. I can type whatever I want. So that you see that the graphs are done on the fly. Okay, and as always, you have access to the statistics pages. To show you that we are running here on Rhapsody 5.6, which is macOS 10 Server 2 on the JDK 1.1.6. So now we are going to take the executable that was built on macOS 10 Server and tar it and copy it over to the Linux box. So as you know, Java, you build once and you run anywhere. Well, it is true as well for WebObjects for Java, and this is the reason why we're moving there. So Ron is our Linux guru, and he knows pretty well the tar command too. Okay, so could you please switch to machine number 2? So you see this is Linux running X. And we are doing the FTP. This is really Linux. Okay, it's almost done. Okay, so the package has been tarred up and moved. Okay, here in red, demo.tar. So both of these OS have Unix as a base, so the same command can be used to enter it. So here something very interesting. we do not support yet Linux in our pre-alpha release, so we have to fake our licensing so that the Java VM believes it's Solaris, so that our licensing key can work. So now the licensing check passed and the app is ready. We can show you. Okay, so the app is running now on Linux, and it's actually the exact same application. There is not much more I can say, except I can go back to the statistics page. And, oops, we have an exception. That's okay, actually. I wanted to show you the exceptions. So you see here we have the backtrace of the exception is actually rendered in the browser. And if we switch back to the machine number 3, please, the macOS 10 server. Okay, so Ron is going to introduce Ron is going to introduce a bug in the application. Perfect. Let's start again. So Ron is a quality engineer with us, so it's a challenge for him to introduce a bug in an app. He's used to find them. I'm good at introducing bugs. So he's now typing a very ugly bug, actually. A null pointer exception, and he will run the application again. So I'm going to click on the right link. Hopefully you'll see another case of this exception. Okay. Okay, so the same app come up, but if run did well, when I click on update graph, I'm going to get an exception. Well, here it is. Now you see that you get a backtrace with the first line being in your code and a clickable link here. If I click on the link, watch what happens here. You get straight to the line in Project Builder where the exception occurs. So not all is bad in moving to Java, and that's a great example of a better development environment. Thank you.
Hey, can I ask you a favor? Can you bring the Linux, actually put back with the macOS 10 on that screen and the Linux on that screen? Guess what? Can you do that? Or bring the Linux on the other screen? Number 2. macOS 10's idea of Unix, the rest of the world's idea of Unix. Gotta love it. Thanks, you can go back to the slides now. So we have this incredibly powerful technology which is really getting out in the mainstream, but it's still incredibly sophisticated. And one of the things that people have often accused Apple of is creating simplistic toy machines, things that look cute or look pretty, but are underpowered, don't really scale to really great, complicated solutions. And with macOS 10 and WebObjects, I think we're really bringing a whole different world to answer that problem. As you can see, we do have all the power of Unix underneath. We have a heck of a lot more than that on top, which is really accessible for the ordinary user to accept and enjoy as if it was just a traditional Macintosh. Just as you see with WebObjects, you have incredibly powerful and simple to use tools that a relatively unsophisticated developer can get up to speed on very quickly, but there's still a lot of depth and all the Unix and all the interaction of the sophisticated tools going on in the back. So one of the things we needed to do is figure out how do we make sure that our customers, our partners, can really tap all the power that exists within WebObjects and macOS 10. And because of that, we introduced a whole new initiative called Apple iServices. And I'm pleased to announce Scott Anderson, the new director of Apple iServices, here to tell you more about it. Please welcome Scott.
Thanks, Ernie. I can't tell you how excited I am to see 400 or 500 people in one room here to talk about web objects. This is truly a great day for our product, and I'm incredibly proud of what the company's been able to do and the decisions we've been able to make around the technology. Just to put this in context, I've been with Apple for 3 years, been prior to Apple with Next for almost 7 years, so this to me is a culmination of a lot of events, and to come out of the gates with a pricing strategy that's as aggressive as it is and a business strategy for my organization that I think is compelling is really exciting. So before I start, I didn't see the show of hands earlier in the session. How many people are currently using web objects in the audience? Great. And how many people here are familiar with Apple Enterprise software? Okay, a lesser group. So for those of you who are new to the web objects community, Apple's had a dedicated organization called Apple Enterprise Software, also known as AES, for the last 3 years, and the mandate of AES has been to sell and deliver consulting and professional services around web objects. And it's very exciting to know that with this shift in our product strategy, our move to pure Java, and our pricing, we're going to have the opportunity as an organization to really leverage our strategic assets a lot more effectively. And quite frankly, our value add for Apple and for Apple's developers and customers has always been the fact that we've got a very sophisticated field software engineering organization that can take our technology and our customers' business problems and deliver compelling solutions built around Apple's web objects technology. So AES, historically, here we go, becomes Apple iServices, okay? Apple iServices, if we go back in history, what did AES do? AES sold web objects and delivered services to the business and enterprise marketplace. Today, effective May 15th, Apple iServices is dedicated to delivering custom solutions through our consulting, integration, training, and support services to Apple's core markets. So historically it's been business. Today, moving forward, we're going to align ourselves much more closely with Apple's markets and deliver our expertise into business, education, the developer market, and the creative new media marketplace. We're also going to be focusing around expanded suite of technology. Historically, our business has been built upon web objects. Moving forward, we're going to empower our engineers in the field, our systems engineers and consulting engineers to better understand QuickTime, to deliver QuickTime integration services, as well as Mac OS X. And what's been interesting as we've gone through this business planning evolution is there's, over the last 6 months, a tremendous increase in requirements from Apple's customers to have an organization that can help deliver QuickTime and web objects integration services. And we're already seeing, for many of our OpenStep customers, an opportunity to provide value-added services to help them move their OpenStep apps to Mac OS X moving forward as well. So really, what's new about this business model? A, we're focused purely on services. We're really hoping that the Apple developer community, the price point, the move to pure Java will really help build the velocity business model for the product. And then lastly, we're aligning ourselves much more closely around Apple's core markets. I want to talk a little bit about our partners. Today we really have 3 types of partners within the old construct of AES. We have the Enterprise Alliance Program, we have solution providers, and we have systems integrators. The EAP program, which many of you may be members of, is really a developer program focused around web objects, provided support services and training as well as product. That program will be transitioned over into Apple's worldwide developer relations programs, and we'll be communicating with our EAP members over the next 30 to 45 days as to what that transition looks like. We've also got a suite of solution providers, folks who take web objects and build vertical market solutions around the technology and take that technology to market. And we have systems integrators, folks who are in the business of delivering custom solutions, who build domain expertise in the product and go out and help solve customers' problems. And I'm hoping, frankly, that amongst this group of developers in the audience today and participants in the conference in general, there will be a tremendous increase in Apple developers who embrace the product and build solutions using web objects. So I'm hoping you'll all be part of the program moving forward. I think there's tremendous opportunity. We're looking at the possibility of extending our business model to include components and reusable frameworks as part of our services play. We're also looking at programs to encourage vertical market applications. We have app vendors today who deliver solutions into everything from litigation support to logistics to e-commerce applications. And by decreasing the barrier of entry and eliminating the price point on deployment, I'm really hoping that there will be a tremendous amount of increased participation in the program. And lastly, I really hope that with our support as Apple iServices, product marketing, as well as worldwide developer relations, we can collectively work with the Apple developer community and build a real strong sense of community, attract a larger suite of developers to the platform, and have a bunch of solutions out there that address specific market needs that we haven't been able to touch in the past. So at a very high level, that's a little bit about AIS. We'll be here later on to answer any questions you might happen to have. Ernie?
Thank you very much, Scott. And one of the great things about having Apple iServices on board is that often there's this the Beltway effect, right? When you're in a small community and you hear things a certain way, it's easy to get locked into a certain mindset. The Apple iServices people are out in the field facing all the same challenges you do as developers, trying to figure out what's going on from Apple, what the directions are, what the support they have available there. And they're an incredibly valuable resource for us to understand what are the issues that you as developers in the field face. So we're looking forward to, with this new focus, to be able to partner more closely with them to really appreciate and understand developer concerns and make sure we have the right solutions in place for you to succeed in meeting the needs of your customers. So that's kind of the whole new world that we're trying to open up with. And then my job in product marketing is trying to take that great technology and bring it out to these people in the field so they can build really compelling solutions. So there's a number of things we're doing to make that happen. This is the standard P's that people who've gone to marketing school learn about: the packaging, pricing, promotion, et cetera. Let me just kind of walk through that real quickly for you. Historically, there were two different products you would buy for web objects. One was a developer product. Oops, seems to have. Developer product, a deployment product, and we're basically taking those two and putting them into a single box, which is both developer and deployment. Now, previously, the developer tools cost $14.99. Deployments started at $7,500 and went up to $50,000. We have taken the $50,000 product and the $14.99 product, put them into a single product costing $699. And this isn't like the $4.99 or the $99 product that you sometimes get from other developers when they do a low-end version of their product, which doesn't have database access or doesn't allow you to load balance or share. This is the full $50,000 product in this little pretty box. We had to work pretty hard to squeeze it in there, but it did fit. And this is affecting not just future-going products, but today's products, WebObjects 4.0.1 and WebObjects 4.5, and it's effective immediately. Go to the Apple Store after this session. It should be up there. You can download and buy it today. And we're very excited to be able to really make this available to a whole bunch of different customers who never would have seen it before. We're also really expanding the channel used to access this technology. It's no longer just a niche thing for an enterprise business. If you want to build a WebObjects application, there's a couple of options. One, it'll be available to all Apple resellers who want to carry it. It'll probably most likely be high-end resellers, your Fry's, your value-added resellers, your specialty integrators, Apple solution experts. But anyone who works in there who wants to carry it can carry it, as well as having it available worldwide on the Apple Store. We're also working to make it very easy to bundle with your applications. If you have a high-end web publishing solution, you can either tell your people to buy it through the normal channels, or we'll make it available for you to deploy along with your application. So you can get a serial number and the right to copy the software to install in your CDs and make it available to your customers without having to go through the hassle of an additional channel, an additional installation. We're still finalizing the details of that, but our goal is to make it really easy and really transparent to you and your customers. So if you want to build a really powerful application that just happens to include a $50,000 web server underneath, you can charge them $50,000 and pocket the profit for yourself. Or you can go into much lower markets than you would be able to do otherwise. And if you know any resellers who you work with that carry your product that should be carrying this, feel free to make sure that they get a hold of this as well, so you can start moving that into the broad marketplace. The product family, so as of today, we have really 3 products in the WebObjects family that we're focusing on and talking about. There are a lot of older products which are being end-of-life, so we can focus really tightly on these 3 projects. Let me just go over the platform and language support because I know it gets a little confusing with all the changes. The original version of WebObjects 4.0 that was released almost a year and a half ago, I believe, you could develop on Mac OS X Server or Windows NT. You could deploy on those or Solaris or HPUX 10.2, 10.20, and there are 3 different languages, Objective-C, Java, and WebScript. WebObjects 4.5 was essentially the same platform support, just updated to Mac OS X Server 1.2, Windows 2000, HPUX 11, but still basic, and a bunch of new features and technology, obviously, but the same basic platforms. Moving forward, WebObjects 5 for Java will be available around the end of this year, and will include support not just for Mac OS X Server 1.2 and Windows NT 2000 with the existing developer tools, as you saw now. It will also be available for Mac OS X with the new Aqua Project Builder-based developer tools. And in addition to Solaris and HPUX 11, we will be qualifying it against one version of Java, and we'll work on this license key thing so you don't have to cheat to deploy it on different systems. We'll make it so that you can actually take that and deploy it on any systems, although beyond the systems that we qualify, you would be responsible or working with a reseller to qualify it against different variants of Linux or other operating systems that you want to run it on. But for those 6 systems, we would be responsible, Mac OS X, Mac OS X Server, Windows, Solaris, HPUX, and probably Red Hat Pro Linux 6.2 or whatever the current version is then, we would qualify our Java runtime against, but you could still run it on any Java-capable system. But the sole language going forward is Java. The existing versions are still sold. We'll continue to maintain them going forward for quite some time yet. So if you have existing code, don't worry. You'll be able to keep running it for quite a while going forward. But future development, future migration, we're really working to focus on Java because it delivers a whole bunch of different benefits. One of the big benefits, it makes it a lot easier for us to integrate with different services on different platforms. Mac OS X, we're working very hard to make sure that it's a world-class platform comparable to Windows NT and Solaris for deploying as well as developing WebObjects applications. We're talking to database vendors, directory service companies, middleware vendors to make sure that if you have a structured data source that your customers are using and you want to be able to access it through WebObjects, we have all the tools in place. And leveraging the power of Java with JDBC and Enterprise Java Beans is a really powerful tool for really expanding the connectivity of WebObjects solutions. This is just a really brief foretaste of all there is to experience in WebObjects. As Steve said in the keynote, we have 18 sessions devoted to WebObjects, 1 down, 17 to go. A few of the more relevant ones we have listed here. Right after this, there's a technical overview session. For those of you who kind of eyes glazed over a bit during the earlier slides, want to really understand how WebObjects applications are built. Secondly, the direct-to-web and direct-to-Java technologies. You won't just see me, the marketing person, showing to you. You can get down and dirty with the engineers and understand what's really going on behind the scenes on Wednesday morning. Secondly, another really big feature of WebObjects 5 for Java is the ability to integrate with Enterprise Java Beans. This is still a work in progress, but by leveraging the power of Java and everything else that's happening in the industry, we can deliver a whole new dimension of interoperability. And finally, for those of you who do have Objective-C code, we are providing a migration path if you choose to move forward at this time to allow you to very easily, or at least straightforwardly, move your Objective-C code to Java and be able to start running applications. Obviously, some applications are going to be harder than others. We're working very hard to make sure that there is a smooth transition for our Objective-C customers and the millions of lines of Objective-C code that are there, which may need to move forward to a new platform. For more information, there's a huge wad of information available to you. There is the new WebObjects website, which has been redesigned to reflect the new announcements today. We have a WebObjects lab available downstairs, available every day over the lunch hour. Go down there, play with WebObjects 4 or 5, try and build a direct-to-Java application, get some feel for what this is, and try to think about how this might benefit your customers or your development technology. You all have a WebObjects 4 or 5 evaluation CD with some wonderful movies and demos included to help you get a taste for what WebObjects can do, as well as some of the training and other resources available. We're also announcing the WebObjects Community BOF. We have a huge, vast wealth of partners who've been working with the platform for years, who know a lot. Some of them offer consulting services, some of them offer training services, some of them have some very cool specialty applications which might inspire you in what you're doing. They're all going to be there, having their PowerBooks and iBooks in hand, hopefully to show you some of the cool things going on, and we'll just get together and hang out for an hour and a half Wednesday. We arranged to get the Civic Auditorium because we didn't have enough room for the rest of you anywhere else. So across the street, that huge building, maybe we'll pack that out as well as we're doing here. So be sure to come by and bring a friend. And if you have technical questions during the course of this week, there's a wofeedback@group.apple.com address where you can ask questions about WWDC sessions. This is not a general tech support question, but if there's something that was covered in a session that wasn't clear, or you don't know where to go next to find out more information, feel free to send email to that technical WoFeedback email address. And the second line is supposed to be webobjects@group.apple.com, which is the marketing address for my team, which is currently just me, but I'm working on hiring some more people to help me take up the load because we got some really great things planned, and this is just the tip of the iceberg.